Have you ever felt like something is watching you, but instead of fear, you feel a deep, unexplainable calling? What if I told you that those shadows you keep seeing aren't random, that they're spiritual signs, divine messages whispered from the unseen world? This isn't superstition. This is a supernatural awakening. This is God speaking in silence. This is the beginning of your divine assignment. Because when the chosen begin to see what others cannot, it's not insanity, it's revelation. It's the Spirit of God pulling back the veil, and those who sense it are those who've already been marked by the hand of God, chosen since the womb, called for a purpose no earthly eye can yet understand. If this is you, you've already noticed. Your prayers have shifted. They're no longer routine. They've become warfare. They've become sacred whispers between your soul and the heavens. You speak, and something moves. You sit in silence, and you feel the presence. Feel the divine weight. Feel that something greater is unfolding around you. These shadows you keep seeing, they're not darkness, they're presence. They're symbols. They're angelic warnings and divine invitations. You're not being haunted. You're being trained. Trained to carry a spiritual authority, to decode divine patterns, to walk through fire and come out holy. And that's why you can't sleep like you used to. That's why the dreams are vivid. That's why the numbers repeat. That's why the air feels heavier when you pray. This is not chaos. This is a divine activation. This is the spirit realm colliding with your destiny. If you feel alone, know this. The chosen always walk through the shadows. Before they shine, you are not abandoned. You were never forgotten. You were set apart. And if your heart is racing as you hear this, if something in your soul is crying, "This is for me," then listen closely, because God is ushering you into a new spiritual season, one where the veil lifts, where prayer becomes decree, where divine instruction flows like a stream directly into your heart. You're not here by accident. Every loss, every tear, every spiritual storm, it all had purpose. It was all preparing you. Because now it's time to awaken. The shadows are moving. The spirit world is calling, and heaven is whispering. It's your time. So if your spirit is stirring right now, don't keep it silent. Leave your prayer in the comments below. This moment isn't just a message, it's an invitation to spiritual connection. When you write your prayer, you're not typing into the void. You are placing your heart into a space where intercession is real and where we pray together as one. Because here, we believe that when two or more agree in faith, heaven responds. Every request will be seen. Every burden you carry is valid. We are not just creating content. We are building altars of faith. If you've been feeling isolated, spiritually attacked, or overwhelmed by something you can't explain, write it. We are praying with you. This is not a moment to be a spectator. It is a moment to be heard in the Spirit. This community exists for a reason. We are the ones who feel before others believe. We are the ones who see signs long before they make sense. And if you felt that calling, then you're not just watching a video. You've been guided here. So I invite you to take a step of faith. Leave your prayer request in the comments. Like this video if the message has resonated with your soul. Subscribe and turn on notifications because the Spirit is not finished speaking. And what's coming next will prepare you for even deeper revelations. The shadows are only the beginning, and in the next message we will go even further. And if the chosen one keeps seeing shadows not because of fear, but because the unseen is calling, that question doesn't just echo in your ears, it resonates in your spirit. Because when the veil begins to lift, it doesn't come with thunder. It comes in whispers, in silence, in moments that feel like nothing, but mean everything. And suddenly, you notice it, those shadows, in the corner of your vision, in the reflection of a window, in the stillness of a darkened room. You blink and they're gone, but something inside you knows they were never really gone. They were always there, watching, waiting. This is where many turn away, dismiss it, rationalize it, but not the chosen, because the chosen don't run from mystery. They're drawn to it, because deep within they already know. The spiritual calling doesn't come wrapped in comfort, it comes cloaked in mystery, and sometimes it comes in the form of shadows. For many, seeing shadows might be terrifying, but for the chosen, it's different. It's not a feeling of danger, it's recognition, a familiar presence, like something or someone has been following them, not to harm, but to awaken. These shadows don't bring chaos, they bring alignment. They bring a message that your life is about to shift dimensions. You're no longer just existing in the physical, you're being invited into the spiritual. It starts subtly, restless nights, a lingering sense that you're being watched. Lights flickering for no reason, technology glitching when you're in prayer, animals reacting to things you can't see, and above all, an internal stirring that doesn't go away. That's how spiritual signs often begin. They're not loud, they're intimate. They target your attention, your perception, your awareness, because when God marks you, He doesn't announce it with fireworks. He marks you with encounters. And you know what happens next? You begin to question everything, your identity, your purpose, your connection with God, why you feel so different from those around you, why your soul cries out in silence even when you're surrounded by people. You start seeing life in layers. The surface becomes transparent. What's unseen becomes louder. This is not coincidence. This is activation. The spiritual realm is closer than you think. And if you're seeing shadows, it's because the spirit world is calling you to pay attention. You were never made to live a quiet life. You were born for divine alignment. That's why the spiritual signs won't leave you alone. That's why you're here, not just watching, but drawn. That's why every time you pray, it feels like someone is listening, because they are. Not just God, but the angels, the guides, the watchers, the ones assigned to you, the ones who have always been there. These shadows, they are not random. They are your confirmation. They are the edge of revelation. And no, not everyone will understand. Most will call it hallucination. Others will call it darkness. But the chosen know the difference. They know that darkness without God is fear, but darkness with God is the beginning of revelation. It's the place where the soul grows eyes. Think about this. Moses met God in a cloud. Elijah heard him in a whisper. Paul was blinded before he could truly see. What if the shadows are the space between your old sight and your new vision? And maybe that's why it keeps happening to you. Because the spirit world knows you're ready. Not ready for comfort, but ready for truth. And truth doesn't knock. It enters through cracks, through tears, through prayers, through shadows. The more you try to live a normal life, the louder the spiritual signs become. You can't unsee what you've seen. You can't unfeel what you've felt. And maybe you've been afraid to speak up, to admit it, to put words to what you're experiencing. But what if someone else out there is waiting to know they're not the only one? What if your story helps another chosen recognize their own? You are not imagining things, you are awakening. And it's no longer about avoiding the shadows, it's about stepping into them. Because the shadows are no longer signs of fear, they are thresholds. And when the chosen one walks through them, they step into divine purpose. This is where the spiritual journey truly begins. Where your perception shifts, where the noise of the world starts to fade and the voice of the spirit grows louder. It's the space between sleep and wake, between logic and revelation, between the person you were and the one you were always meant to become. The shadows you see, they're not your enemy. They are echoes of heaven waiting for your attention. They are divine signs, markers of transition. They are spirit world signals, and right now, they are calling. If this is resonating with you, if you've seen shadows and wondered if it meant something, I want to hear from you. Don't scroll in silence. Write in the comments and tell me, have you seen shadows that no one else could explain? Share what you experienced. Maybe it happened last night, maybe as a child, maybe it's still happening. Comment below with the words, "The shadows are speaking to me," or simply share your moment. Your story might be the confirmation another chosen one needs. And if you feel like your spirit is connecting to this message, like this video, so that others can find it too, subscribe to the channel, because this is just the beginning. We are only scratching the surface of what is being revealed. The spirit world is opening its doors, and you're being called to walk through them. You start to notice something else too. The world around you begins to shift. Not visibly, not in ways others can point to, but deeply, subtly, powerfully. Everything that once felt vibrant, meaningful, full of life, begins to lose its color. The food doesn't taste the same, the conversations feel empty, the distractions that used to entertain you now just pass through you like vapor. You sit with people and feel alone. You try to laugh but can't find the part of your soul that used to think it was funny. The world hasn't changed, but you have. What once held your focus now fades into the background. That's how it begins, when the physical world starts to feel like a shadow and the unseen world starts to feel more real. This is the start of a spiritual awakening. It's not fireworks and angels singing. It's detachment. It's the ache of your soul realizing it was never built for this system. It's the deep knowing that your spirit belongs to something eternal and that the temporary around you is no longer enough. You're not dying, you're awakening. The color is draining from this world because your eyes are being opened to another. You've started to remember who you really are. And as this happens, the shadows intensify, not to scare you, but to sharpen you. What once looked like fleeting darkness in the corner of your room now seems to linger. It waits, watches, not with malice, but with assignment. They come closer as the veil gets thinner. They don't mean to haunt, they're here to herald. They're announcing a shift. The spirit world is preparing you for something greater, something heavier, something divine. People around you may not notice it. To them, you might just seem tired, distant, maybe even strange. But what they don't understand is that you're moving between realms. You're waking up to spiritual dimensions while still walking in a physical one. You're here, but not fully, present, but split. It's like your body is grounded on earth, but your soul is already hearing the language of heaven. And the truth is, you've never really felt like you belonged here. Even before all of this, you've always sensed that you were different. Not better, just set apart. The way you felt things others ignored. The way you asked questions no one could answer. The way you sat in silence and still felt crowded by thoughts, emotions, energy that wasn't even yours. These weren't random traits, they were spiritual markers, signs of your selection. You were chosen. Now that your eyes are opening, the memories start to return, not memories of this lifetime, but echoes of who you've always been in the spirit. And in this awakening, the spirit world begins to take control, not in a way that strips your will, but in a way that realigns your soul. You start feeling nudged in new directions. You lose interest in things that once consumed your time. You crave solitude. You long for clarity. You begin to seek God, not just in church or in moments of trouble, but in the silence, in the stillness, in the quiet whispers when no one else is watching. This is the territory of the chosen. This is the space where transformation begins, where the soul sheds its old identity like a snake sheds its skin, where the colors of the material fade so the glory of the eternal can emerge. It's uncomfortable, it's lonely, and it's sacred. Because what's happening to you isn't breakdown, it's breakthrough. And the spirit world doesn't let go once it starts. The more you resist, the heavier the signs become. The dreams grow more vivid. The interruptions in your routine become more divine. You feel watched, but not threatened, touched, but not harmed. The veil between here and there becomes so thin that you sometimes wonder if you're losing your mind. You're not. You're gaining your spirit. You're being reintroduced to the version of yourself that was hidden under layers of distraction, fear, and societal programming. This transformation isn't about escaping the world. It's about becoming someone the world can't contain. It's about walking as light in a place built on illusion, and it starts right here, when your physical world loses its shine and your soul begins to rise. The chosen are not called to conform. They're called to be transformed. That's why you feel the urge to change your environment, your habits, your inner life. That's why you feel drawn to prayer when you least expect it. That's why your spirit reacts when you hear certain words, see certain numbers, feel certain energies. You're being led. The spirit world is orchestrating encounters, drawing you deeper, asking you to listen, not with your ears, but with your soul. This is why nothing feels the same anymore. It's not depression, it's disconnection from what's fake, from what no longer feeds your spirit. The Spirit of God is stirring within you, making room for the next version of your life, one that's aligned with divine purpose, one that walks not by sight, but by revelation, one that answers the call, even when the road is unseen. And maybe that's the most powerful part, that you don't know exactly what's happening, but you know it's real. You know you're being called. You know there's more than routine, more than survival, more than chasing empty things. You know that the spirit world is speaking, and something inside you has already said yes. Let me know when you're ready for the continuation with topic 3, and I'll write the next part fluently from here. But what are these shadows? Why do they appear more frequently the closer you walk toward your calling? The answer isn't something that can be fully explained by science or logic. It's deeper, it's older, it's sacred, because what you're seeing isn't simply a shadow. It's a messenger. In the realm of the spirit world, things are rarely as they seem. And when you're chosen, truly chosen, God doesn't always speak in thunder. Sometimes he speaks through what others fear. And these shadows, they aren't threats, they're signs, emissaries, markers of transition. They move with purpose, not chaos. They arrive on assignment. For those spiritually awakened, the shadows become familiar over time, not comfortable but recognizable, not safe but sacred. Their presence doesn't bring evil, it brings alignment. Because in the realm of divine communication, shadows aren't always signs of darkness. Sometimes they're carriers of revelation. They're the shape that precedes the word, the mystery that prepares the soul. You see, in ancient scriptures, shadows were often mentioned during moments of divine visitation. Moses spoke with God inside a cloud of darkness. Elijah heard God's whisper after the storm passed. Even the Psalms declare, "He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." The shadow of God is not absence, it is presence concealed. It is glory wrapped in mystery. And in the mystic traditions, across cultures and centuries, the shadow has always represented the place between worlds, between what is known and what is about to be revealed. The edge of understanding, the threshold of awakening. That's where you are right now. When you begin to see these shadows, your first instinct might be fear. But pause, feel, discern. What you're experiencing isn't an attack, it's an invitation. You're being drawn deeper into the spiritual. These are not hallucinations or tricks of the eye. They are encounters. They are spiritual symbols, sometimes appearing as figures, silhouettes, presences in your peripheral vision, barely there, yet unmistakably real. You feel them before you ever see them. That's how the spirit world operates, through energy, through frequency, through presence. And yes, sometimes these shadows are entities, but not the ones you've been warned to fear. They're not here to steal, kill, or destroy. They're watchers, messengers. Sometimes they are angels operating under veils. Sometimes they are ancestral guides sent to observe and instruct. Sometimes they are echoes, memories of divine encounters from your spiritual lineage, trying to awaken your soul through familiarity. What you're feeling when these shadows appear isn't fear, it's recognition. A strange, haunting sense that you've felt this before, seen this before, lived this moment in dreams, and maybe you have, because the spirit world isn't linear, it doesn't wait for time, it moves in seasons, in signals, in spirals. The deeper you walk into your calling, the more sensitive you become to these signals. The world may think you're distracted, overthinking, even unstable, but in truth, you're tuned in. You're seeing beyond the visible. You're picking up on patterns in the atmosphere, flickers in your spiritual vision, whispers in the silence. These are divine codes. They're sent to confirm, not confuse, to stir you, not scare you. And if you're seeing them, you're meant to decode them. One night you'll wake up from a dream you don't remember, but feel changed by. Another day you'll walk into a room and feel an overwhelming sense of presence. Good, pure, but intense. You'll pray, and suddenly the temperature shifts. The light dims slightly, the air grows still, and you'll know it's happening again. The shadows have returned, not as enemies, but as confirmation that you are not walking this path alone. This isn't about paranoia. This is about purpose. When God begins to move in your life in unusual ways, He often does it through what the world misunderstands, because that's how the Spirit tests the heart. Will you fear what others mock? Will you embrace what others avoid? Will you open yourself to what you cannot control? The truth is, only the chosen will understand this fully, because only the chosen walk this road. Only the chosen will feel that undeniable pull in the soul when the shadows pass. And only the chosen will stay long enough in the mystery to receive the message. This is not superstition. This is spiritual transformation. The spirit world is not distant. It's active, present, instructive, and right now it's reaching for you. If you've made it this far in the video, if your heart is racing, if your spirit is stirred, if your thoughts are suddenly filled with memories you can't explain, then you know. You've felt it too. The silence before the encounter, the shadow before the voice, the breath before the breakthrough. You are not losing your mind. You are gaining your vision. You are seeing what others cannot see, hearing what others cannot hear, and feeling what many would ignore. And that is not something to be ashamed of. It is something to embrace, because the ones who see the shadows are often the ones who carry the message. You were never meant to stay in the shallow places of faith. You were built to swim deep, to receive revelation, to walk with power. And this moment right now, it's proof that heaven is watching, listening, guiding. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever felt something invisible trying to guide you? Have you ever walked into a place and felt a presence so intense that it changed your whole energy? Let me know in the comments. Share your moment. Tell me what you felt. You can even write the phrase, "I see what others can't." Or if you've ever felt guided by something unseen, share your experience, because your story might be the very confirmation another chosen one needs. And if you feel like this message was speaking directly to your soul, leave a like so that it reaches someone else who needs it. Subscribe to the channel, because what we're uncovering together is just the beginning of something much greater. Ready for me to continuar com a próxima parte? Posso seguir com a próxima transição e desenvolvimento emocional da narrativa. And once you start to see, once you truly begin to feel the presence of something beyond, the symptoms begin to show. Not in your body at first, but in your spirit. The shifts are subtle but undeniable. You lie awake at night, not from stress, but because your soul refuses to rest. You feel a pull, like something or someone is trying to reach you, like the silence itself is whispering truths you can't yet decipher. Sleep becomes shallow, dreams become vivid. Your nights no longer feel like rest. They feel like training grounds. Insomnia isn't the enemy. It's the beginning. When your spiritual calling starts to activate, your body resists rest because your soul is restless. You're not tired, you're tuning in, and what you start to dream about no longer feels random. The places, the faces, the voices, they feel charged, prophetic. Every symbol feels like a code. Every dream feels like a visitation. Sometimes you wake up with tears, sometimes with a deep sense of mission. Sometimes you wake up with a burden you can't explain. This is not a breakdown. This is an alignment. These are spiritual symptoms, the signs you are being called, the signs that something inside of you has been marked for more, and it doesn't stop when you open your eyes. You begin to feel more than you ever did before. You walk into rooms and sense the atmosphere before anyone says a word. You pick up emotions that aren't yours. You notice energy shifts that others ignore, and it's exhausting because no one teaches you how to carry spiritual sensitivity. You begin to ask yourself, why am I so drained? But the truth is, your soul is working overtime. You are reading energy, discerning spirits, detecting intentions, filtering unseen frequencies, and no one sees it happening. That sensitivity is not weakness, it's preparation. The more aware you become, the more heaven can trust you with divine assignments. You are not here to live unaware. You are here to awaken. And then comes the solitude, not just being alone, but feeling alone, even around people. Conversations no longer feed your spirit. Social settings feel overstimulating. You begin to crave stillness, not because you're broken, but because your soul needs space to listen. This is the season where heaven pulls you away from the crowd, not to punish you, but to position you. This is where the spirit begins to work most deeply. In silence, in stillness, in separation. You weren't made to fit in. You were made to be set apart. That ache you feel, that strange sense of being in between worlds, not fully here, not fully there, that's part of the process. The loneliness of the chosen is not a curse, it's a sign. It means God is making room in you for something sacred. It means He's stripping away distractions so you can hear clearly, so you can walk fully in what you were born to do. Because divine calling doesn't arrive with applause. It comes in whispers, in friction, in stillness. And it always starts with the soul cracking open so that the spirit can take the lead. Some days it feels like you're losing yourself, like you're shedding skin. And in many ways, you are. You're shedding the version of you that was built to survive, so that the version of you that was born to lead can emerge. And it hurts. It really hurts, because becoming who you were meant to be often means letting go of who you thought you were. It means walking through inner deserts. It means facing questions without answers. It means praying and hearing nothing, yet still feeling everything. It means waking up at 3:33 a.m. and knowing deep in your chest that something holy is happening inside you. It means walking through spiritual discomfort that most people can't comprehend. You start noticing patterns, numbers, symbols, moments of divine interruption. You start recognizing how the Spirit interrupts your plans, delays your timing, closes doors, not to hurt you, but to prepare you, to align you, to remind you you're not in control, but you are being led. This is when you stop praying for comfort and start praying for clarity. You begin to understand that God isn't just trying to bless you, He's trying to build you. Build in you the kind of spirit that can carry the weight of the assignment He's placing on your life. And that's no small task. That's why you're being stretched emotionally. That's why old habits are breaking. That's why relationships are shifting. That's why your heart feels both heavy and alive at the same time. Because you're stepping out of a season of surviving and into a season of aligning. And alignment requires adjustment, discomfort, sensitivity, obedience. The ones who carry the deepest anointing often go through the deepest isolation. This isn't a punishment, it's purification. God removes noise before He releases clarity. And the more you lean into the symptoms, the more they make sense. You begin to accept that you were never meant to walk a normal path. You were meant to carry something divine. And with that calling comes a process. With that process comes the fire. And with the fire comes the voice of the Spirit. Loud, raw, undeniable. There's no turning back now. Not after what you've seen. Not after what you've felt. Something is awakening in you that cannot be reversed. You've tasted the truth, and nothing else satisfies. You've heard the whisper, and silence is no longer empty. You've felt the presence, and the absence feels unbearable. This is the season where your spirit is louder than your thoughts. This is the season where the soul finally answers the call it's been hearing since birth. And if this feels like your reality right now, if your nights are restless, if your energy feels intense, if your solitude feels sacred, then know this: you're not crazy. You're being called. Your symptoms are sacred. Your isolation is an invitation, and your restlessness is a sign that God is preparing you for something holy. If you've been walking through any of this, if your nights are filled with strange wake-ups, if your dreams are unusually intense, or if your sensitivity to people and places has increased lately, I want to hear from you. Share your experience in the comments. Maybe you've been waking up at the same hour for days. Maybe your spirit feels things your mind can't explain. Maybe you just know that something is changing. Leave your story below. Or write the phrase, "I'm feeling the symptoms of my calling." Because when you speak it, you acknowledge it, and when you acknowledge it, you strengthen it, and when you strengthen it, heaven responds. Let me know when you're ready para continuar com a próxima parte. Estou pronto para seguir de onde paramos. And then it starts, quietly, without ceremony, without warning. The invisible battle, the spiritual warfare that begins not with noise, but with a shift. You don't even realize it's happening at first. A heaviness creeps in, a strange tension in the air. Your thoughts begin to spiral. Doubt whispers louder than clarity. You're not being paranoid. You're being engaged. Because those who begin to awaken the spirit within, those who are called to light, always trigger resistance from the darkness. The moment you said yes, yes to the call, yes to alignment, yes to the whispers that wouldn't leave your soul, the battle started. You didn't even know it. You were just praying deeper, fasting more, asking questions others avoided, seeking silence while the world screamed noise. That's all it takes. That single yes in your spirit disrupts the spiritual realm, and what once lurked quietly in the shadows now begins to react. Spiritual warfare is rarely visible. It begins with tension in the unseen, a clouding of your thoughts, a strange fear that comes and goes, emotional weight for no reason. Suddenly, you feel under attack, but can't explain why. You feel like something is pressing against you, but there's no hand, no voice, just a presence, a pressure. That's how the enemy moves, subtly, strategically, always after your clarity. He doesn't come to steal your comfort first, he comes to steal your vision. Because if you can't see clearly, you can't move forward, and if you can't move forward, you'll never fulfill what you were born to do. Doubt is the first weapon, then fear, then isolation. The attacks don't come in ways others can see. They come in the quiet places of your soul, your identity, your calling, your emotions. You begin to question everything. Am I really chosen? Is this even real? Was that dream truly from God, or just my imagination? The spiritual attacks intensify not because you're weak, but because you're getting closer, closer to purpose, closer to revelation, closer to disrupting the very system that's tried to keep you small. The warfare gets personal. Old wounds reopen, familiar insecurities creep in. People you trusted begin to distance themselves. Things that once felt solid now feel unstable. That's not coincidence. That's strategy. Because darkness will use anything it can to make you believe the lie that you're alone. But you're not. And if you've started seeing shadows, feeling presence, waking up in the middle of the night with your heart racing, this is not fear. This is your spirit being trained for combat. You are learning to sense spiritual shifts. You are learning how to read the room, not with your eyes, but with your soul. The battle may be invisible, but your role is not passive. You are not a victim of spiritual forces. You are a weapon in the hands of the divine. Your prayers are fire. Your silence, when led by the Spirit, is thunder. Your obedience terrifies hell. Because every time you align with heaven, darkness loses ground. That's why the warfare feels relentless. That's why you've been tested in ways others don't even understand. Because when you're marked, the enemy recognizes it, even if you're still learning what it means. And the more you surrender, the more the spiritual realm shifts around you. You start waking up not just physically, but spiritually. And yes, the rejection hurts. Yes, the isolation feels unbearable some days. But what if I told you it's by design? That the silence isn't absence. It's God creating space around you so you can hear his voice more clearly. What if the loneliness is the cocoon before the wings? You're not being punished. You're being refined. Every chosen vessel goes through the fire. Every soul with purpose walks through resistance. And the greater the call, the deeper the battle. You're not under attack because you're weak. You're under attack because you're carrying something holy. And that kind of fire always draws opposition. But here's the truth: the darkness doesn't want you to remember. Light doesn't need to fight darkness. It just needs to show up. And when you walk into a room carrying light, everything that's been hiding has to reveal itself. That's why your presence alone makes people uncomfortable. That's why you're triggering spiritual reactions without even speaking. Because your light exposes what others are still trying to hide. You're not here to blend in. You're here to break cycles, to speak truth, to disrupt patterns, to walk in authority. But authority only comes through surrender, and surrender only happens in battle. And yes, the enemy will try to convince you that you're losing. But what if the shaking is not about your destruction, but your unveiling? What if everything that's falling apart is actually falling into place? Because the moment you realize that you're not just being attacked, you're being activated, is the moment everything changes. Now let me ask you something from the depths of this revelation. Have you felt like you're fighting something you can't see? Like your thoughts, emotions, even your energy have been under siege? If that's you, I want you to write in the comments below. Speak it, release it. You're not alone in this war. Share your experience or write the words, "I'm in the battle, but I'm still standing." Your voice has power, and your courage may be the spark someone else needs to keep going. Let me know when you're ready for the next part. I'll continue from exactly this energy. Something changes when you stop running, when you stop trying to shut it out, when you stop dismissing the whispers, the visions, the signs, and finally ask, "What are you trying to show me?" That moment, when the chosen one no longer fears the shadows but leans into them, that's when everything shifts. Because what you thought was darkness was a doorway. And what you feared was chasing you was actually leading you. The shadows aren't random. They are portals, thresholds, hidden entrances into the spirit world, reserved only for those who have been prepared in secret. And if you're seeing them, if you're feeling them, if your soul has been stirred by something you can't explain, then you are already standing at the gate. You've been called. The truth is, divine messages don't always come wrapped in light. Sometimes they come wrapped in mystery. Sometimes the clearest instructions are delivered in the middle of your darkest moments. Because God hides destiny in discomfort. He hides calling inside confusion. And he speaks most clearly when your soul stops screaming and starts listening. The chosen one always arrives at this moment, the moment of pause, the moment of spiritual clarity, where what once terrified you now intrigues you, where the shadow doesn't feel like a threat, it feels like an invitation. And suddenly you realize, every time you saw something move from the corner of your eye, every time you woke up at 3:33 a.m. with your spirit alert, every time the number 1111 flashed before you, it wasn't random. It was a signal, it was a portal, because 1111 isn't just a number, it's alignment. It's the moment when heaven leans in. It's the knock at the veil. It's God reminding you that the natural world is not all there is, that something bigger is unfolding just beyond what your eyes can see. You're being invited to see differently, to hear differently, to understand that shadows do not always equal darkness, that in the spiritual realm, what is hidden is often holy, that the places most people avoid are the exact spaces where the Spirit speaks loudest. You've already seen this in your own life. Think back. The strange dreams that felt more like encounters, the moments of déjà vu that felt too perfect to ignore, the times your heart beat faster and the air shifted in a room and you just knew something is here. You weren't imagining those moments. You were being initiated, slowly, quietly, carefully, into the realm of divine awareness. And now, the veil is thinner than ever. The visions may intensify. You might start seeing more symbols, mirrors, feathers, glowing light, specific times repeating again and again. You may even experience what feels like time slowing down. These are not accidents. These are the portals. The soul recognizes them before the mind does. The energy of these moments isn't just spiritual, it's instructional. Because with every shadow, there's a message, a direction, a revelation. They don't come to confuse you, they come to guide you. But only those with prepared souls will hear them clearly. And that's the key. The spirit world doesn't speak to noise. It speaks to surrender. It reveals itself to the silent, to the open, to the willing. If your heart has been crying out for meaning, if your soul has been aching for truth, then this is the moment to stop asking for escape and start asking for interpretation. Because what you've been walking through isn't just a storm, it's a translation. Every disruption in your life is trying to translate something eternal into your temporary reality. Every delay, every dream, every shadow, it's all language, it's all spirit. And once you realize that the shadow is not chasing you, but opening a portal, you stop fighting it and you start listening. You begin to ask, what are you trying to show me here? What is this moment revealing about me? What am I being prepared for? The answers won't always come in words. Sometimes they'll come in feelings, sometimes in visions, sometimes in divine encounters that leave you shaken but clearer. Because that's what true portals do. They don't just show you the way. They change who you are when you walk through them. And this transformation isn't always loud. Sometimes it's as simple as a thought that doesn't feel like yours, but carries truth too strong to ignore, or a sudden peace in the middle of your panic, or a single sentence that echoes in your mind for days. You were never meant to stay the same. You feel this, don't you? Even now, something is opening, something is shifting. The veil is thinner. The spirit world is not silent anymore. It's speaking. Loudly, repeatedly, through signs, through dreams, through shadows, through you. And the moment you realize the shadows are portals, not prisons, that's when fear breaks. That's when courage rises. That's when obedience becomes instinct. And when you walk through that portal with your soul open, everything begins to align. Have you experienced these portals? Have you ever felt like a shadow was trying to show you something, not scare you, but guide you? Have you been seeing 11:11, waking at the same hour, sensing shifts in your spirit? If so, I want to hear from you. Share your experience in the comments. Tell me what the spirit has been showing you, or write the words, "The shadows are opening the portal." Because when you speak it, you seal it. And when you seal it, you step into it. And when you step into it, your life will never be the same. Let me know when you're ready for the next part. I'll continue from exactly this moment of spiritual alignment. If you are seeing shadows, it's because the gates are opening, and your soul has already been marked. If your eyes have been drawn to darkness, and you've felt the weight of something unseen, then hear me when I say this. You've already been summoned. God, in His quiet sovereignty, has been orchestrating this moment for your entire existence. The same veil that once separated you from spiritual revelation is now thinning, thinner than it's ever been. Those shadows you've seen, they're not threats. They are signposts. They are wombs preparing you to be reborn, a birth ushered in by the Spirit. The chosen one does not wander through shadows and remain unchanged. You are not just seeing darkness, you are being invited to pass through it. This is your divine activation. The shadows are revealing hidden rooms in your soul that were built for destiny. Divine messages are being delivered softly but with unstoppable force through symbols in the night, ghosts of vision that flicker across your path. They are calling you, saying, "Your time is now." You've already been on the journey of spiritual awakening. You've felt the symptoms. You've known the dreams. You've sensed the pressure. Even the battle that raged in secret, though exhausting you, was real and purposeful. That invisible warfare was not accidental. It doesn't mean you were weak. It means you were chosen, and your character was being proven. You were being equipped. Now, all that preparation converges here. This moment is the summation of the divine sequence. Because no gate opens without preparation. No portal swings wide without your soul being tested, purified, aligned. The shadows have activated your understanding. The encounters have activated your authority. The spiritual resistance has activated your faith. And now comes the reckoning of what you actually believe. Because belief isn't just mental. Belief is spiritual. Belief is willing your soul into motion, into alignment with what heaven has declared. And heaven has declared over you motion, transition, transformation, passage, crossing, because you were not created to stay where you've been. You were created to cross over, to step through the threshold of what was into what will be. The door is open, but the walk through it is faith and obedience and courage. With each step, you leave behind the illusions that shaped you and move into the reality you were always meant to inhabit. Many will never understand this journey. They see the trenches, not the purpose. They see the pain, not the promise, but you see in the shadows, you hear in the silence. You walk in a dimension that's too real to ignore, and that's why you're being called to higher ground. The places where vision becomes destiny, the places where presence becomes power, the places where the unseen becomes undeniable. But before you step fully into the revelation, you must choose, you must decide. Will you continue to fight from fear, or will you cross with purpose? Will you continue to wander between worlds, or will you stand and declare, "I was born for this"? Because here's the truth. The gates are opening for specific souls, and you are among them. The same shadows that once haunted now become your anointing. What once seemed terrifying now becomes the reason for your transformation. The things that once shook you now become the songs you sing in the midst of the storm. And every tear, every sleepless night, every fierce battle, they weren't mistakes, they were preludes. You've been initiated, you've been chosen, you've been called. And now destiny is whispering to you, stop hiding, step forward, walk through. So listen closely. You have not been forgotten. You have not been overlooked. You have not been disqualified. You have been manufactured by the hand of God for this very crossing. The shadows, they haven't been trying to hurt you. They've been guiding you. They've been opening corridors in your spirit to reveal corridors in your purpose. Now, all that remains is what you will do next. Will you allow fear to hold you at the threshold? Or will you open the gate with your voice, with your step, with your faith? Because behind that veil is the next dimension of your calling. The next volume of your story. The part where your purpose becomes visible, not just to you, but to the world. The part where your commission isn't secret anymore. It's spoken, and it's spoken with power. If you sense that something inside you is shifting right now, if your soul is trembling in expectation, if you feel in your spirit that this message was delivered specifically for you, then hear this clearly. God is about to reveal why the chosen ones suffer. Why the deep, dark valleys exist. Because the portals are not just opening, they are about to unleash something holy, something powerful, something deeply spiritual in the next video. And if the chosen one is suffering because the gates are opening soon, that question will change everything, because it will show you that your pain isn't pointless, that your suffering isn't senseless, that your soul isn't broken. The portal is breaking open, and those who walk through the fire will carry the glory. I invite you, if you're feeling that weight, that shift, that promise, share in the comments what you're sensing. You could write, "I feel the portal opening," or "I am ready for the next level." Maybe you're feeling pain deeper than words can hold. Write it down. We will cross this threshold together. You do not have to cross alone. You were called for such a time as this, and those gates are not just opening, they're swinging wide for you. If you've heard the voice of God through this message, if something inside you stirred, broke, awakened, then this is your moment. Subscribe to this channel now, because this isn't just content. This is a calling, a journey, and you were led here for a reason. If you stayed with me until the very end, I want you to comment below. I crossed the veil. Let that be your declaration. Let heaven see your name marked by boldness. Don't forget to leave a like if this word spoke to you. Your engagement helps this message reach another chosen one who might be silently searching for confirmation right now. And above all, watch the next video that's appearing on your screen right now, because in it, we'll go deeper into what your soul has already been sensing. And if the chosen one is suffering because the gates are opening soon, click it. I'll meet you there.